It is 10 o'clock.
No. Vehicle purchases.
I am calling this meeting to order. All right. Can we have a roll call?
Desart here. Chaplin here. Krajewski
here.
Kuchelski. Zay
here.
Did I forget Chaplin? No, you can call me. And Ozog, sorry.
Okay. We have a forum. Let's see. I am not Chair Pilcharski. I don't have any chairman remarks at the moment. Any public comment?
None.
None. All right. Next, I move for approval of the minutes of our May 3rd meeting. And I have a second. Any comments or changes? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, I want to move to combine budget adjustments A through D. Second. Okay. Then I'd like to move to, well, I have to read them. Budget transfer, 34,000 from 1,500, 3,500, 53,807.
We need to vote on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Combine.
Right, forgive me. All in favor of combining. Thank you. Okay.
So now you move to.
Now I'd like to move to approve A through D.
Second.
I have this eyebrow problem. I'd like to move to approve A through D.
Second.
Okay.
And then you need to read them all.
Then I read them. Okay. Budget transfer, item A, budget transfer 34,000 from 1,500, 3,500, 53,807 for DOT budgeted FY 2022, Acela expense 53,807, IT prepared PO and allocated expense in 53,020. Item B, budget transfer $50,000 from 1,500, 3550, 54,199, capital contingency to 1,500, 3550, 53,830, other contractual expenses to establish an MFT eligible FY 2022 budget for temporary easements in support of various construction projects to be funded under the Rebuild Illinois program. Item C, budget transfer of 125,000 from 1,500, 3,500, 51,499, capital contingency to 1,500, 3510, 53,830, other contractual expenses due to additional funds needed for approved FY 2022 mowing agreement and updated forecasted FY 2022 non-encumbered expenses. And item D, budget transfer of 135,000 from 1,500, 355, 3550, 54,199 to 1,500, 3550, 53,320. Funds for FY 2022 retaining wall program were incorrectly budgeted. Work is eligible for MFT funding. So I've moved, and can I have a second?
I did second.
Okay. Any comments, questions about all of this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next, procurement requisitions. Okay, now we're starting with item A, and I want to entertain a motion to amend agenda item A. 7A, to delete the words aluminum sign blanks and add the words sign materials - sign faces. And this will now read, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Vulcan, doing business as Vulcan Aluminum, to furnish and deliver sign materials, sign faces as needed for the Division of Transportation, period June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023, for a contract total amount of $25,000 per lowest responsible bid.
Second.
Okay, I have a second. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next, I move for a motion to approve 7A as amended. I move for approval of 2022-52, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Vulcan, doing business as Vulcan Aluminum, to furnish and deliver sign materials - sign faces as needed for the Division of Transportation, period June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023, contract total amount of $25,000 per lowest responsible bid. Have a second. All in favor?
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Zay.
Why did we make that change? Are we going to use other materials outside of aluminum because of pricing, or?
No, it was just a Scrivener's error on the blurb. The sign faces are below.
Okay, because I know aluminum's
through the roof.
Through the roof, yeah, exactly.
Wait, to clarify, down below is aluminum sign blanks.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between an aluminum sign blank and sign materials?
So the sign blank is we get a stop sign and it has no stop on it.
No stop.
It's just a piece of hunk of metal that's an octagon.
Okay.
The sign faces allows us to put the face on it now.
Oh wow, I thought they came as.
No, we like to, fit it separately. Yeah.
We should think put 9 sides on our county.
Yeah.
Some
Some are metric, some aren't. So that's the difference. So
We are not
just
approving 9.
Yeah.
No. Let the record show. Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, item B, I move for approval of DTP 015722. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to Westside Tractor Sales,
Second.
the authorized dealer of John Deere repair and replacement parts for the period June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023 for a contract total not to exceed $30,000, not suitable for competitive bids. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item C, move for approval of DTP 017322. Recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Lightly Enterprises of Ohio, LLC, to furnish and deliver roll-up signs as needed for the Division of Transportation. Period June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023 for a contract total not to exceed $33,000 per lowest responsible bid. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item D, move for approval of DTP 016922. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to Precise MRM LLC for fleet tracking equipment and service agreement for the Division of Transportation for the period June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023 for a contract total not to exceed $34,000 sole source. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item E, I move for approval of DTP 016822. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to Groot Incorporated to provide refuse disposal and recycling pickup services for the Division of Transportation for the period June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2024 for a contract total amount not to exceed $46,799.36 per lowest responsible bid. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item F, I move for approval of DTP 017122. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to Mandel Metals Incorporated, doing business as U.S. Standard Sign Company, to furnish and deliver aluminum sign blanks as needed for the Division of Transportation for the period June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023 for a contract total not to exceed $70,000 per lowest responsible bid. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item G, I move for approval of DTP 017422. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to Max Body Shop Incorporated for auto body repairs for the period June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023 for a contract total not to exceed $85,000 per lowest responsible bid. First of 3 options to renew: $35,000 for Department of Transportation, $50,000 for Sheriff's Office. I have a second. All in favor?
I have a question.
I'm sorry, member Dessert.
I just have a general question about this, bids like this. So Max Auto Body Shop, I mean, how can shops, auto body shops bid out a contract when auto body repairs are unknown?
Right.
Who knows if there's going to be an accident next week or 3 accidents next week, or, you know, some, or muffler breaks down, you know, auto repairs is just, it just seems so,
Yes, driven.
Right. So my understanding, and I'll let my team correct me if I'm wrong, is that they bid out a pre-described need for repairs. Like it's been an accident, need to X, Y, and Z, so they bid it out each. And then what we do is you're right, we could have 1 accident, we could have none, we could have 5. So then we just set aside a not to exceed amount for each of our departments, DOT and the Sheriff's Office.
I just wondered how, because it's so elusive. You know, how can you possibly know?
Right.
But okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we say, here's a repair.
Prior
So
years.
if you were to fix this specific damage, what would you bid? How would you bid it? Labor, materials, everything. And then we look at those and then we award it to the low bidder for that specific damage. And then we just set aside amount not to exceed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, a lot of our contracts are like that, even with attorneys, right? Because we don't know how much legal fees we're going to have every year, so it's kind of just an estimate of what we're gonna
Not to exceed.
right? Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor of item G?
Aye.
Okay. Item H, I move for approval of DTP 017222.
Second.
Recommendation for the approval of contract purchase order to MD Solutions to furnish and deliver sign posts as needed for the Division of Transportation for the period June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023 for a contract total not to exceed $120,000 per lowest responsible bid. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item I move for approval of GTP 017022. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to Morton Salt Incorporated to furnish and deliver bulk rock salt as needed for the Division of Transportation for the period June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023 for a contract total amount of $1,138,200 per lowest responsible bid. All in favor?
Aye.
If I could just
Yes.
make a comment on this one. Oftentimes we get recognized for this. This is like one of the very first shared services the county ever did, going back a decade, where we started going out for bid, not through the state contract, but more favorable terms to DuPage County. We've added all the townships and the majority of the municipalities. And so that's continued for the whole time I've been here. So this bid came in at just under $76 per ton. Pierre County to the north of us. Got together, they did the same thing, and their bids were anywhere from $77 to $88 a ton for everybody. So our bid for DuPage County and all of our partners was under that. So I think that's just again another recognize the team effort by us procurement to get the word out, and we all pay promptly, and they love that. So just I'd recommend to acknowledge that.
Good. Let's hope we don't need that much salt in this head. Okay. Next, moving on to awarding resolutions. I move for approval of DTR 021122 resolution, awarding resolution to Utility Dynamics Corporation for the Fabian Parkway street lighting improvements for an estimated county cost of $104,614.70 per lowest responsible bid. Second. All in, Mr. Zay.
Yeah. Chris, when they do this, I was actually driving it on Saturday and watched the person in front of me probably texting, go into the shoulder and almost lose control of the car. When we go out there, are we going to do any kind of maintenance or anything on the shoulders or anything to kind of fix it up a little bit before we can?
Right. So this contract is for lighting.
For lighting, yeah.
However, I know Fabian is one of those roads that our guys have been check, and we will, because they always go off going, I guess, eastbound. They kind of just
exactly the way they were
follow the gravel.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
so we'll make sure we stay on top of that and continue to check it and get gravel down and stabilize it.
Will those posts now they'll be off the road, right?
Oh yeah. They're going to be
pitch.
on the north side, right?
North side.
So
Okay.
away from the curve, if you went off, it'd be on the opposite side. And the goal is that they were designed and put in the ground in a position that when we do the reconstruction, we'll be able to use those same posts for at least the first stage.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that same lighting. So we get kind of the double whammy.
Great. Thank you.
Double whammy, get that in the minutes.
I want to see this next week on the closed caption.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have two ordinances. I move for approval of DTO 002722 ordinance for Highway Authority Benefits Agreement, County Highway 24, Medina Road at Irving Park Road. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And I move for approval of DTO 002822, an ordinance release for settlement of 2005 construction cost claim.
Second.
Second. Okay.
Finally got it done, huh? 2005.
Well, the project is done. This was actually, it's married with the one above. There was a contamination and we were able to track the cost to the gas station. It took a little while to collect the money, but $76,000, 15 years later, 17. So
Good job. All
yes,
approval.
Brian, only 17 years.
Under 20.
Let's go back to the salt discussion. How well we did.
All in favor of ordinance DTO 002822.
Aye.
Okay,
That was one
thank
of the
you.
first things they worked on. The guy.
Yeah.
Congratulations to all for finishing this item. Okay, I now move for approval of an action item. Change order DTR 0131A22, amendment to resolution DTR 013122, issued to Geneva Construction Company for the DuPage County Fairgrounds parking lot improvements to increase the funding in the amount of $6,778.16, resulting in an amended contract total amount of $149,740.30, increase of 4.74%. County is to be reimbursed up to $149,000. Second?
Yeah, second.
Okay. Mr. Zay.
Yeah.
Member Zay.
What's the why is there an increase?
So what we did is we had this grant for $149,000. The bids actually came in a little bit under. So we decided to maximize the full amount. So we were able to do a couple additional areas by the polling facility. So it was all part and parcel, if you will, with the grant, but we were able to do additional area.
Okay, but it only goes up to 149. So we're picking up the extras.
The $740.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we lease out their property, right? And so we have to do these whole improvements.
So this was something that the election commission actually went out and got the grant because for the polling facility, and DOT through Chairman Pachalski stepped up to say, well, this is kind of in our wheelhouse, so we'll go ahead and put the plans out there, but there's no cost to DOT. Any of the costs we incurred.
No, I understand that, but we've leased the property, so we're doing leasehold improvement to the property?
Yeah, I guess, yes. So I'm not familiar with that, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, usually the tenants will do the leasehold improvements at that. I remember, well, maybe your guys' department, we're gonna have the audit, they do that in front of you, public works that. I know there were some issues in the prior year, and the audit, who actually has those assets that are out there on the property, are they theirs or ours?
Well, this came from the Illinois Election Commission, this particular money, so.
The properties, we're the landlord of the property, and the tenant usually.
So it's our property.
Yeah, but we're doing more work. That's what it came down to.
We did more
Okay,
work.
I just want the guy, because it was a little bit, all of a sudden say, well, it's going to cost me X amount more.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think the purpose was to make it, because
I
after the
understand
disaster.
what needs to be done and stuff, but.
You're worried about
Nobody
residents,
break ankle
perhaps?
on their way to vote.
Well, we're the
Yeah.
landlord, usually the tenant will do
Do the
the
improvements.
improvements, and then there was some questions a couple of years ago I raised on the audit report that regards who owns the assets out there, are they our assets or their assets?
Right. So certainly for this.
What was the answer? I'm not sure. I mean, I thought I did talk to, but I thought that they had this year's reports coming to your committee, Public Works, at some point. Maybe they already did.
Okay.
They got to tell me, I guess. Okay.
So,
Because I would be interested in knowing that too.
yeah, I mean, that's,
Aside from, it's got.
but I think the specific nature of this one for
Yeah.
the source of the funding is where we're.
Yeah.
Right.
Come
I think
from
that,
here,
right.
so.
If this was just a paving project, then I think the fairgrounds would have gone out on their own and procured those
Right.
because they can't. Because this came to the state of Illinois, and the thought was that we should follow state of Illinois.
No, I understand those. I'm just like, is this going to be showing up on their balance sheet as $149,000 parking lot now as their asset on their, or is it? I just, because when I saw some of their audit reports before, and they were looking at bank loans and stuff, and is this their asset now that we just did it for them?
As vice chairman, can I assign this research project to you?
Well, yeah, we can go outside now. It's kind of a little bit off. I was just curious.
No, it's serious. I think it's really the specific nature of this.
I know what they're
So,
doing. They're putting a parking lot out there, which
Yeah.
is needed.
It looks great.
I'll
It
follow
does.
my questions with the
Okay. But it looks, the parking lot turned out great, so it'll be a real nice enhancement for
We
early
were
voting.
invited, so
I'm sorry.
we weren't invited to the ribbon cut.
for parking lot.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to choose those big scissors?
John, do you have a picture of Jim? We
I
could just put it
haven't
in.
slept, Jim, so.
Kind of Photoshop them in.
Shop them in there?
No.
Is there a pair of
everywhere.
scissors?
Or a hologram.
It's upside down.
Not if he doesn't get invited, I can't.
Okay, everyone in favor of the action item?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next, discussion of vehicle and equipment purchases, availability and delivery schedules. I'm going to turn that over to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. So for the 2022 budget, we had two vehicle purchases, two crew cabs included in the budget. Ford has stopped any production of that facility or any as of current. So we have yet to even go out to procure the two crew cabs. They will not, they're in the process of changing their model back up to a 2023 and beyond specification. So we don't expect that anything with the crew cab specification will be available to follow this year. And when we get in line and be able to place the order, we don't expect delivery to occur until very late 23. So what I'd like to do is for committee discussion and consideration. If you remember last year, we ran into a supply chain with our snowplows. Okay, and this committee said, you know what, we ought to be looking into the future because it is taking 18 months for delivery. So the snowplows we ordered last July, we are hopefully going to be taking delivery. So our 21 and 22 plows will come at the beginning of our 22-23 season. What I'd like to do for these two crew cabs, is to purchase 2 for this year as budgeted, but also advance purchase 2 for next year. We put them all in the order at the same time. We get ahead of the supply chain. We're in the queue. Hopefully pricing is more favorable sooner than ordering later. We won't pay for it till 2023. So we'll take the 2022 budget, carry it over, then adjust it for 23 based on pricing. But to actually get 4 in for order, recognizing it'll be part of the 23. We typically cycle based on age, condition, mechanics assessment. We're typically averaging 2 crew cabs a year. And so we're just going to hopefully get ahead of the bubble with the world supply chain and be in a position then starting with the 23 budget going to 24, go back, return to our normal cycle. Okay.
Yes.
So far support, that's good. I'd like to offer the same thing for our snowplows. So this year's snowplows were actually budgeted for last year. We went out for bid for the 21 and 22. They'll be coming in this year. What I'd like to do is also the supply chain for snowplows similarly is to order now the 23, 24. Typically we do 4 per year. We have 40 plows. We cycle 4 per year. So every 10 years it's new. It helps prevent a bubble. We're already starting to see a bubble because we ordered 8 last year. Now if we do 8 again this year, however, we don't see that if we wait too long, we won't have our 24 plows until 25 or beyond. And so I'd like to recommend that when those, when we're able to make those orders, as soon as they're open for entities through co-ops or otherwise, we be given the approval to order 4 crew cabs and 8 snow plows for the snow plows being 23 and 24. And again, none of those will be paid for
them until they get
until delivery 23, 24. And so as long as we have that approval, you'll see we'll bring through the actual paperwork for the purchases when we get to that point that we're able to bring it through. What we're just asking for is they may say tomorrow, we're starting production and we don't want to wait for a board meeting and then come for an approval or a committee meeting. We'd like to get that approval now to go with it. I did talk to Chair Pachalski. He said, great thinking, best director ever. I think I quoted him. Yeah.
Yes,
so,
and on video. Good job.
So anyway, so
Okay.
if you're
Well, that sounds-
okay with that, I'd like to stay ahead of the curve on that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, really? I remember hearing that.
Quick question. I'm very much in favor of being ahead of the curve, but then in the future, then are you going to be starting looking for electric vehicles? Because they're way in the future now. So I don't know if you can start looking for those now too, or?
So the electrification of the various fleets don't currently include the larger Super Duty crew cabs that we do use for our supervisors.
They don't.
They don't. And obviously the snowplows at this point, we're not there yet.
Well, I know snowplows,
Yeah.
no.
But for the crew cabs, they're not there yet with the availability, and the outlook of availability is not on their list. I think they're looking at the smaller, lighter duty trucks and vehicles for electrification.
What kind of crew truck do you usually order?
Well, I'm going to defer to our fleet manager because now you're asking me questions well beyond my expertise. So these are Super Duty crew cabs.
Typically, we order F350 crew cabs.
Okay.
Yes. Currently, the only electric models that are available are F150s.
Yeah, that's what I was.
And what did you say, Chris, about the snowplows? They don't have that technology at all?
Correct. Yeah, to push the snow and the power.
That's- yeah,
to stay,
That makes sense.
Yeah, no,
combustion engine.
Chris, and are you're going to start looking into like a plan to implement electric into our fleet, right? You guys are going to like create a little plan. And so we're going to be, I know you mentioned that in the meeting. I think that's a great way to go to look to see what vehicles and what years you can start converting to electric and go that way. And I think you had mentioned that at a meeting, right?
Yeah, I think we'd said, not only the technology of the vehicles and the availability, right? I mean, if you look at the entire fleet in Illinois, I think it's 4% are electric, 3.9% are Teslas, right? So unless we're going to go to Teslas, so we're a little bit of ways for getting production up to speed, but it's also just the infrastructure here on campus, but also when we're out on the road. So I think it's kind of moving forward. You hear about it at the federal level. I mean, there's been $5 billion for EV infrastructure, charging stations and the like. So I think it's got to be looked at not just at the vehicles, but the infrastructure to support that here on campus. And what makes sense, I think some of the stuff we talked about is maybe the best vehicles would be those that have a 1 mile radius, 2 mile radius, start here on the campus where we're not driving long distances and then ramp up to EV.
And And there's a supply and demand issue in general.
Yeah.
I'm from Detroit originally, so I look at the newspapers, Detroit newspapers, and I'm afraid the Mustang electric vehicle has completely shut down any ordering for this year. So
Most of them are here.
I know.
We were hoping for a couple of those for DOT.
How about it? An electric Mustang. So that's a Detroit girls, whatever. Anyway, Mr. Zett.
Yeah. Chris, do we look at like going to Dodge or something, or is that too much of then parts are then that we got to do special parts and everything for them? It's cost more in the long run, or?
We just had this conversation yesterday. We've spent so much time trying to basically align our fleet. You know, we've gone to Ford. That way, all the parts and the certifications and the diagnostics, right? You just don't open the hood anymore. You can take out an engine. You got all these other stuff going on. So we talked about while something might be cheaper, one of the other manufacturers. Now you've got to, train the staff. You've got to get the parts and stuff. So the thought is Ford has indicated, at least for the crew cabs, that this fall they're going to release them. And at this point, the thought is to stick with that, find the co-op that there's to cover. Same with kind of the consistency of our fleet.
Okay, thank you.
And if they've electrified the 150, hopefully the 350 will be coming
Just around the corner.
Down the corner, because the demand is certainly there.
So if I could just summarize, the consensus was to move forward with the pre-ordering or advance ordering of the 23, 24.
Yeah.
The crew cabs are, thank you very much.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Oh, that was just, that was just a discussion.
State attorney freak out right there. It's like, no, it's on the agenda. What are you saying?
I just wanted to see if you were paying
Yeah.
attention. Are we all in favor? We are.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. But I did this part right before.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have any other discussion right now for that?
No,
Okay,
no.
thank you. Report from the state's attorney.
Yes, I'm Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any old business?
I actually do, not to prolong this meeting. You're not going to be
I'm not
Chair
getting any
Pachowski's
record. Thank you
but
very
real
much.
quick, I just want to stay under old business. Some of you, we awarded, we got federal funds for project 87th at Woodward in District 3 in Woodridge. And that project kind of evolved out of the 355 interchange and all the development that's occurred with the Esplanade. And something that doesn't happen, rarely happens, is one of the developers, Costco, came in and we identified significant repairs that they needed to do. Unfortunately, they didn't control the right of way. So what we agreed to is if the county implemented a project within a certain time frame, 12 years, that they put $999,000 in escrow toward that project. So we did move forward with that project. It has been let and awarded. It's a $4.3 million project. Federal is about 2.3. Escrow is 1 million plus with interest. So the county shares about $1 million out of almost a $4.5 million project. So great
And that
win.
was because we put the RTA tax that year. We gave a little extra to do pre-engineering. So you
Sure.
were able
So we
to,
got.
you were able to do the.
8 to 12 years. It only took 12 years. But anyway, so that was something we were able to work closely with the developer. Again, they needed to do certain improvements, but they didn't control the right of way. And so we agreed that when it got to a certain level of service that was, we'll say, more congested, that we could implement it. And took them a while to get that check from them to sign off on the escrow, but they ultimately did. So,
Excellent. Good work.
12 is less than 15.
yes, exactly. Yeah, it only took 15 years, but it has it for the
District 3 is really, I mean, you got the stoplight at by the high school. Now we're getting the Costco. I mean,
We're gonna start looking at how many miles you have in your county roads. I think I'm getting shortchanged out my area.
No, it's Lamont Road, and that will come after because we don't want to have two projects on top of one another.
Could use multiple ones at District 3.
All right.
Chris, you have
Two has a
5
lot of
minutes
miles.
meet after the meeting, and I really have to, I have another.
We'll catch you.
Can I catch up right up to my 10:30?
Of course.
And I will,
Yeah, give me a
come
text.
find you in your office?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, perfect.
That was old business?
That was old business.
Any new business?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
No new business?
No.
Okay, I move to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
I did, so that.